I arrived at my brother Marcus's engagement party completely exhausted from working overtime all week to pay for my apartment's recent $50,000 renovation. Walking through the door, I noticed strange looks from relatives as I entered the ballroom. My father Richard suddenly took the microphone announcing he had a special gift for Marcus and his fiancée Ashley. I watched in absolute horror as he produced property documents for my apartment, declaring it their engagement present, while the entire room erupted in thunderous applause, and I stood there frozen, realizing my parents had just given away my home without even telling me. The champagne glass slipped from my fingers, shattering on the marble floor as I pushed through the crowd toward my parents. "What are you talking about?" I demanded, my voice shaking with disbelief. My mother, Patricia, waved dismissively, her diamond earrings catching the light. "Pearl, don't make a scene. You're being selfish on your brother's special day." Selfish. The word came out as a strangled whisper. "That's my apartment. I paid for it." Ashley floated over in her designer dress, already discussing her renovation plans with her bridesmaids. "I'm thinking we'll knock out that wall between the kitchen and living room," she gushed, completely unaware I'd just spent $50,000 upgrading everything 6 months ago. And those bathroom fixtures have to go. So outdated. "I just renovated that bathroom," I managed to say, my chest tightening. My parents exchanged knowing looks. "Well, obviously you did it for Marcus," my mother said smoothly. "You knew this day would come." I caught Marcus's expression across the room. While everyone else celebrated, he watched me with a slight smirk playing at his lips, quickly hidden behind his champagne flute when our eyes met. Something cold settled in my stomach. Family members began whispering, their voices carrying despite the music. "Pearl's always been difficult," I heard my Aunt Margaret murmur. "Can't even be happy for her brother." My cousin Sarah approached quietly, touching my elbow. "Pearl, I need to tell you something." She glanced around nervously before pulling out her phone. "I overheard Marcus talking to Ashley's brother last month. Look at these texts." My hands trembled as I read the messages on her screen. Marcus had written, "Mom and Dad are totally on board. Pearl won't know what hit her until the party. Been working on this for months. She's so focused on her stupid job she'll never see it coming." The room spun around me. This wasn't spontaneous generosity from my parents. My brother had orchestrated the entire thing. "Sarah, can you send these to me?" I whispered. She nodded, her face full of sympathy. "I'm so sorry, Pearl. I thought about warning you, but I didn't have proof until now." I left the party immediately, ignoring my mother's calls about family unity and Marcus's shouts about ruining his moment. My hands shook so badly I could barely unlock my car. I drove straight to my best friend Jennifer's house. She was a contract lawyer, and if anyone could help me understand what just happened, it would be her. "They can't just give away my apartment," I said, pacing her living room at midnight, still in my cocktail dress. "I bought it. I pay the mortgage. I renovated it." Jennifer pulled up property records on her laptop, her expression growing more concerned with each document. "Pearl, this is worse than you think. The deed is in your parents' names." "What?" I sank onto her couch. "No, that's impossible. I bought it 5 years ago." "You did, but it looks like it was put in their names for tax purposes. Did they tell you it would be temporary?" The memory hit me like a physical blow. Yes, my father had said it would help with taxes the first year, that we'd transfer it later. I'd trusted them completely. Why wouldn't I? They were my parents. "We never transferred it," I whispered. Jennifer pulled up more documents. "From a legal standpoint, they own it. They can do whatever they want with it." She paused, studying her screen. "Wait, this is interesting. There's been recent activity on the title search. Someone's been looking into the property value. Starting about 6 months ago, right when you began renovations." She turned the laptop toward me. "Pearl, someone's been tracking your property investment. Every permit you pulled, every contractor payment, it's all here." I thought about every late night I'd worked extra shifts at the hospital, every weekend I'd spent painting and planning. "Can we trace who's been searching?" Jennifer's fingers flew across the keyboard. The inquiry came from a realtor named Bradley Simmons. Ring any bells? Never heard of him. Let me check your email, Jennifer suggested. Sometimes these guys send preliminary stuff. I logged into my account on her computer, and there it was. 3 emails from Bradley Simmons in my trash folder, all about selling my apartment, all marked as read. I never saw these. I never deleted these. Someone with access to your email did, Jennifer said grimly. When was the last time Marcus used your computer? The pieces clicked together. He helped me set up my new printer 2 months ago, said he needed to install drivers. I felt sick. He used my computer for an hour. Jennifer pulled up the emails. Each one referenced conversations about my supposed plans to relocate to California for a job opportunity. Pearl, he's been building a paper trail, making it look like you were planning to abandon the property. But I love my job here. I just got promoted to head nurse in the cardiac unit. Your parents don't know that. I thought about it. I tried to tell them at Sunday dinner last month, but Marcus kept interrupting with stories about his engagement plans. Jennifer sat back, her legal mind clearly working. This is sophisticated manipulation. He's created a narrative where your parents believe they're helping both of you. You abandon a property you don't want, and he gets a home for his new marriage. What can I do legally? Honestly, not much. The property is legally theirs to give. Unless you can prove undue influence or fraud. She trailed off, then straightened. Wait, if Marcus accessed your email without permission and deleted correspondence that's unauthorized computer access, it's a federal crime. A tiny spark of hope flared. So I can fight this? Maybe. But Pearl, you need to document everything. Every conversation, every text, every piece of evidence that Marcus orchestrated this. And you need to be prepared for this to get ugly. Your family won't take kindly to you pursuing legal action. I thought about the smirk on Marcus's face, the way my parents had dismissed my devastation, the whispers from relatives who'd known me my whole life. It's already ugly, Jen. They stole my home. My phone buzzed at 6 the next morning. A text from Marcus. Move out immediately, you have 2 days. I stared at the message fury building in my chest. 2 days to leave the home I'd poured my heart and soul into. 2 days to pack up 5 years of my life. The doorbell rang an hour later. Through the peephole, I saw Marcus and Ashley standing on my porch. My porch. I opened the door still in my pajamas, not bothering to hide my exhaustion. Good morning, future sister-in-law, Ashley chirped, pushing past me with a measuring tape in hand. We wanted to get an early start on planning. Marcus followed, avoiding my eyes. We figured you'd want to get this over with quickly. I watched in disbelief as Ashley measured the living room windows. These curtains will have to go. Too feminine. I'm thinking something more modern, maybe automated blinds. Those are custom silk drapes, I said flatly. They cost $3,000. Well, that was your choice to waste money, Ashley replied, already moving to the kitchen. Oh, Marcus, look at all this counter space. Perfect for my KitchenAid collection. She ran her manicured fingers along my granite countertops, the ones I'd selected after visiting 12 different stores. Though this color is a bit dated, we'll probably replace it within the year. I just installed those countertops 4 months ago. Ashley laughed, a tinkling sound that grated on my nerves. Your taste is so single woman chic. We need something more sophisticated for a married couple. Marcus finally spoke up from where he was examining my built-in bookshelves. Mom said you could store some stuff in their garage if you need to, but not too much. They're planning to renovate soon. How generous, I muttered. Ashley pulled out her phone, already making calls. Hi, Brittany. You have to come see our new place. Yes, the engagement gift I told you about. It needs work, but the bones are good. She paused, glancing at me. The current tenant is moving out in 2 days, so we can start demo next week. Tenant. She called me a tenant in my own home. Marcus set a stack of cardboard boxes by the door. I brought these from the liquor store. Should be enough to get you started. He checked his phone, not meeting my eyes. Oh, and Mom wanted me to tell you that they've already changed the locks at their place. You know, with you having a key and all. They figured it would be awkward if you just showed up while they're processing everything. Processing what exactly? Your selfishness. Ashley supplied helpfully still on her phone, but apparently listening. Brittany, hold on. She covered the speaker. I mean, trying to keep a family gift for yourself. That's pretty low, Pearl. I bought this apartment, I said through gritted teeth, with my money from my job. The deed says otherwise. Marcus finally looked at me, and there was something cold in his eyes I'd never seen before. Look, Pearl, just make this easy on everyone. You're single, you can rent anywhere. Ashley and I need a real home to start our family. I told Brittany we might rent out the spare bedroom. Ashley continued into her phone. Extra income never hurts, right? Maybe $800 a month. The spare bedroom I'd converted into a home office where I studied for my nursing certifications, where I'd cried after losing patients, where I'd celebrated getting my promotion, reduced to a rental income opportunity. Marcus moved through my home like he already owned it, making notes on his phone. We'll need to change the locks first thing Wednesday. Can't have you getting confused and trying to come back. How thoughtful of you to consider my potential confusion, I said, my voice dripping sarcasm he chose to ignore. We're not monsters, Pearl. You're family. That's why we're giving you 2 whole days. He finally met my eyes fully. Some people would just show up with a moving truck and deputies. Consider this a courtesy. Ashley ended her call and linked her arm through Marcus's. Should we tell her about the housewarming party? What housewarming party? Next Saturday. Ashley beamed. We've already sent invitations. Your parents are so excited to see what we do at the place. Your mom suggested we might even have Thanksgiving here this year. Wouldn't that be wonderful? The whole family gathering in our new home. My home, where I'd hosted last Thanksgiving, cooking for 12 hours to make everything perfect. Where my father had fallen asleep on my couch watching football. Where my mother had complimented my turkey for the first time in 28 years. That sounds perfect, I managed to say. I hope you know how to cook a turkey. Ashley's laugh was sharp. That's what caterers are for, silly. I don't waste time on domestic tasks like that. They left an hour later after Ashley had photographed every room and Marcus had measured for his gaming setup in my office. I stood in my living room surrounded by the boxes they'd brought and made a decision. They wanted me out in 2 days. Fine. But they never specified what condition I'd leave the place in. I began packing with methodical precision, starting with my home office. As I removed books from the built-in shelves, a folder fell out from behind my financial planning guides. It wasn't mine. The label read M Strategic Planning in Marcus's messy handwriting. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside were printed emails, bank statements, and betting site screenshots. The numbers made my blood run cold. Marcus owed $200,000 in gambling debts. I sank to the floor, spreading the papers around me. Transaction after transaction to online poker sites, sports betting apps, casino, cash advances. The dates went back 2 years. How had he hidden this from everyone? Then I found the bank statements that made my stomach drop. They weren't from Marcus's accounts. They were from our parents' retirement savings. Withdrawal after withdrawal, each one forged with their signatures. My phone rang. David, my friend from IT support at the hospital, sounded concerned. Pearl, you asked me to look into those email deletions. I found something disturbing. Tell me. Someone's been accessing your email regularly for the past year, not just deleting stuff. They've been sending emails as you and then removing them from your sent folder. Pearl, they've been impersonating you to your parents. What kind of emails? Complaints about your apartment, mentions of job opportunities in California, comments about being tired of property maintenance. Someone's been systematically making your parents think you want to leave town. I stared at the gambling debts scattered around me. David, can you recover any of these emails? Already did. I'm sending them now. Pearl, one more thing. The IP address traces back to Marcus's apartment complex. Everything clicked into place. Marcus needed money desperately. He'd already drained our parents' retirement. The apartment was his next target, but he needed me out of the way first. I found a business card in the folder for someone named Tony Valente. The name was circled in red with final notice, written beside it, a loan shark. My brother owed money to actual loan sharks. My laptop dinged with David's email. I read through the recovered messages, each one perfectly crafted to sound like me, but expressing sentiments I'd never felt. Complaints about property taxes, frustration with maintenance, excitement about fictional job opportunities across the country. Planning vacation to California next month to check out neighborhoods. One email read, "The apartment feels like such a burden lately." The most recent one sent just a week ago. "Thinking about putting the apartment on the market. Fresh start sounds perfect right now." My parents had been receiving these for months, believing their daughter was preparing to abandon the life she'd built here. No wonder they'd been so ready to give my home to Marcus. In their minds, they were solving two problems, giving Marcus a wedding gift and taking a burden off my hands. I called Jennifer immediately. I found evidence, mountains of it. Marcus has been stealing from our parents and impersonating me digitally. He owes money to dangerous people. "Document everything," she said urgently. "Take photos, make copies. This changes the game from property dispute to criminal fraud." I spent the next 3 hours cataloging evidence. Every forged check, every gambling transaction, every fake email. By the time I finished, I had a clear picture of my brother's deception. But I also had something else: leverage. Marcus thought he'd won by giving me 2 days to leave. He had no idea I'd just discovered his secret, and I knew exactly what to do with it. I picked up my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found Tom, the contractor who'd handled my renovations. We'd become friends over the months of work, and he'd often mentioned how he kept meticulous records of every installation. "Tom, it's Pearl. I have an unusual request. How quickly could you remove custom installations and restore a property to its original condition?" His pause was brief. "Depends on what you need removed. Why?" "Let's just say I need to take back what's mine. Every single thing. And I need it done in 36 hours. That's a rush job. It'll cost extra." I looked at the evidence spread around me, thought about Marcus's smirk at the party, Ashley's dismissive comments about my taste. "Money's not a problem. How soon can you start?" "I'll need to pull a crew together. We could start tomorrow at dawn." "Pearl, are you sure about this?" "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." "Oh, and Tom, bring the biggest trucks you have. We're going to need them." I hung up and began making lists. Every receipt I'd kept, every warranty, every proof of purchase. If I'd paid for it, it was leaving with me. Marcus wanted the apartment, he could have it, but he'd get exactly what existed before I'd poured my heart, soul, and savings into making it a home. The evidence of his crimes stayed safely locked in my bedroom safe. That revelation would come later, when the timing was perfect. For now, I had 36 hours to execute the most thorough property restoration in history. My phone buzzed with another text from Marcus. "Hope you're packing. Ashley already has contractors lined up for Wednesday." I smiled grimly and typed back, "Don't worry, everything will be handled by then." He had no idea how right I was. Tom's truck pulled up at 5:30 in the morning, followed by 3 more vehicles and 2 large moving vans. I met him at the door with coffee and a detailed inventory. His crew of 12 professionals stood ready with tools, each person specialized in different areas of construction and removal. "Pearl, I've got to admit, in 20 years of construction, no one's ever asked me to reverse a renovation." Tom said, reviewing my lists. "You sure about this?" "Every upgrade I paid for is mine," I replied firmly. "I have receipts for all of it. The apartment should return to exactly how it was when I bought it." Tom whistled low. "That means removing the hardwood floors, the kitchen cabinets, the bathroom fixtures, the smart home system." "Everything," I confirmed. "The central air system, the tankless water heater, the custom closets, even the upgraded electrical panel. I want it all." "What about the walls you had us move?" "Put them back. I kept the original drywall in storage just in case I ever wanted to restore the vintage layout." I'd been called paranoid for keeping construction materials. Now that paranoia would pay off. Tom gathered his crew. "All right, people, this is a precision operation. We're not demolishing, we're carefully extracting. Every piece Pearl paid for needs to be removed intact for transport. Jorge, you start with the smart home system. Disconnect everything but keep it functional. Maria began with the kitchen, cabinet by cabinet. The crew dispersed through my apartment with practiced efficiency. I heard Jorge in the living room. This integrated system must have cost 15 grand. Beautiful work. 17,000. I corrected, remembering the endless research to find the perfect setup, including installation. Maria called from the kitchen. These soft close cabinets are gorgeous, custom made from a local craftsman in Denver, took 4 months to complete. As the sun rose higher, more neighbors began to notice the activity. Mrs. Henderson from across the hall peered out her door. "Pearl, honey, are you renovating again?" "Just reclaiming my investments, Mrs. Henderson." I offered her a smile. "Sorry for the early morning noise." She stepped out in her robe, curious. "But didn't your parents give the apartment to Marcus?" "They gave him the apartment. They didn't give him my $50,000 in improvements." Her eyes widened with understanding. "Oh my, good for you, dear. That boy always was too entitled for his own good." Tom approached with his tablet. "Pearl, we've discovered something. When we pulled the permits for your renovation, everything was filed under your name personally, not the property address. Legally, these improvements belong to you as personal property, not fixtures." "What does that mean?" "It means you're on even firmer legal ground. These aren't permanent fixtures if they were installed under personal property permits. Your lawyer friend is going to love this." My phone rang. Jennifer's name appeared on screen. "Pearl, I've been researching all night. Tom's right about the permits. Also, I found something interesting. Your parents filed a gift tax document for the apartment transfer. They listed the value as the original purchase price from 5 years ago, not the current improved value. They didn't account for my renovations, not a penny, which means they've potentially committed tax fraud by undervaluing the gift. If the IRS investigates..." I felt a twinge of sympathy for my parents quickly squashed by remembering their dismissiveness at the party. "Document everything, Jen." By 9 o'clock, the kitchen transformation was remarkable. The expensive granite countertops were carefully removed, revealing the worn laminate underneath. The custom cabinets were labeled and loaded into the truck, leaving behind the original metal ones from 1972, complete with rust spots and broken hinges. My doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw my friend Maria, a social media influencer with 300,000 followers. She held up coffee and bagels. "Thought you might need reinforcements." I let her in and she gasped at the activity. "Pearl, this is incredible. The precision, the justice of it all." Her eyes lit up. "Would you mind if I documented this? My followers love stories about women standing up for themselves." "Document away," I said, suddenly seeing an opportunity. "But don't post anything until Wednesday. I want the full impact when they arrive." Maria began filming, interviewing Tom about the technical aspects, capturing the careful removal of each expensive fixture. "This marble tile in the bathroom," she said to her camera. "Pearl selected each piece by hand from a quarry in Vermont. Now she's taking it all back, because queens don't leave their crowns behind." The bathroom restoration was particularly satisfying. The rain shower system I dreamed about for years was extracted and replaced with the original dripping shower head. The heated floors were pulled up, revealing cracked linoleum in a nauseating shade of green. The vintage toilet, which I'd kept in storage because it was too heavy for one person to move, was reinstalled complete with its perpetual running water problem. "This toilet uses 7 gallons per flush," Tom noted, "completely inefficient by modern standards. Perfect for Marcus's environmental consciousness." I replied, remembering how he'd criticized my electric car as virtue signaling while driving a gas-guzzling SUV. My phone buzzed with texts throughout the morning, several from my mother. "Pearl, stop being childish. This is vindictive. Think of your brother's happiness." I didn't respond. Let them think what they wanted. They'd understand soon enough. By noon, the living room was transformed. The hardwood floors I'd spent weeks selecting were carefully removed, each plank numbered for resale. Underneath the original parquet flooring appeared complete with water stains and missing pieces. The built-in entertainment center was extracted in sections, leaving behind holes in the walls that I didn't bother to patch. "Want us to fix these holes?" Jorge asked. "Leave them. Marcus wanted the apartment as is. He's getting exactly that." The smart doorbell, the automated blinds, the voice-controlled lighting, all of it was systematically removed and packed. In their place, the original fixtures returned the doorbell that only worked half the time the bent mini blinds. The light switches painted over so many times they barely functioned. Tom showed me a corroded pipe they'd discovered. "This was hidden behind your new drywall. The whole plumbing system needs replacement. Without your updates, this place is maybe 6 months from major water damage. Add that to the documentation," I instructed. "Take photos of everything." The neighbor from 2 doors down, Mr. Patel, stopped by with his teenage daughter. "We heard you're moving Pearl. Such a shame. You made this place beautiful." "She's not just moving," his daughter said, showing him her phone. "She's taking everything valuable with her. It's all over next door. People are calling her a legend." I smiled despite my exhaustion. "Just taking what's mine, Mr. Patel." "Good for you," he said firmly. "My daughter's been following your story. You're teaching her about standing up for herself." The crews worked in shifts, some removing others, packing others, documenting. By late afternoon, the transformation was shocking. What had been a modern, elegant apartment now looked exactly as it had 5 years ago, dated, worn, and desperately in need of updates. I walked through each room with my phone, creating my own video record. The kitchen with its olive green appliances and broken drawer tracks, the bathroom with its moldy caulk and cracked tiles, the living room with its stained carpet revealed when we removed the parquet to access my upgraded subfloor. Every single improvement I'd made was gone packed and ready for transport to a storage facility. "We're about 70% done," Tom reported as the sun began to set. "We'll finish up tomorrow morning. The major systems are all reverted. I've got to say, Pearl, this place looks exactly like my grandmother's apartment in 1980. "That's the point," I said, surveying my work. "They wanted my apartment so badly they can have the apartment I bought, not the home I created." As the crews packed up for the day, I sat on the floor where my custom couch used to be. Tomorrow would bring the final phase of removal, including my gardens and the one thing I'd saved for last, the custom front door I'd commissioned from a local artist. My phone lit up with messages of support from neighbors, co-workers, and strangers who'd heard the story. But the one that made me smile was from Sarah. My cousin, Aunt Patricia, just called my mom in tears. "Says you've lost your mind. Mom told her she should have thought of that before stealing your home. Family dinner this Sunday should be interesting." Dawn broke on Tuesday with Tom's crew already assembled outside. Today's mission was even more precise, focusing on the systems and details that transformed the apartment from barely livable to luxury living. I'd spent the night in a hotel giving the crews full access, but I arrived early with breakfast sandwiches for everyone. "Final day, team," Tom announced. "Pearl's given us the green light for complete extraction. Remember, we're documenting everything for legal purposes." Jorge had brought a specialist for the HVAC system. "This central air installation was complex," the specialist explained as he worked. "Routing through these old walls took real skill. Shame to remove it, but I understand the situation." Within 2 hours, the whisper-quiet central air system was gone, replaced with the original window units I'd kept in storage. One didn't work at all, another made a grinding noise, and the third leaked condensation. Perfect for a scorching summer. The electrical panel upgrade was brilliant, the electrician noted, taking photos before reverting to the original. "This old panel, honestly, I'm surprised it meets code. Probably grandfathered in. Your brother better get this updated fast or his insurance company will have issues." "That sounds like a Marcus problem," I replied, watching him reinstall the outdated system with its cloth-wrapped wiring and inadequate amperage. The panel sparked slightly when he flipped the main breaker. "Is that safe?" "Technically, yes. Practically, I wouldn't run a microwave and a hairdryer at the same time." In the kitchen, Maria supervised the appliance swap. My professional-grade stainless steel range was replaced with the original electric stove, complete with only 2 working burners and an oven that ran 50 degrees too hot. The silent dishwasher gave way to the machine that sounded like a freight train and left spots on everything. The smart refrigerator with its perfect temperature zones was swapped for the yellowing model that froze vegetables while barely cooling milk. "This refrigerator has character," Maria joked, filming its crooked door seal. "And by character, I mean it belongs in a museum." My friend Janet from the hospital arrived with a colleague who worked in real estate photography. "Pearl, honey, we need to document this transformation properly, before and after shots for your records." She'd brought professional lighting and took meticulous photos of each room in its restored state. "This is incredible," her colleague murmured, comparing photos on his camera. "The property value just dropped by at least 40%, maybe more given the system issues." The custom closet systems throughout the apartment were next. Each one was carefully disassembled, revealing the original wire shelving bent from years of use and walls, with decades of unpatched holes. In the main bedroom, removing my built-in organization system exposed water damage from an old leak, complete with mold growth the renovation had sealed away. "Should we treat that mold?" one of the crew asked. "Take photos for health code documentation, then leave it," I decided. They want the apartment in its original condition that includes original problems. The tankless water heater removal was particularly satisfying. The old water heater, which I'd kept because it was too large for regular disposal, wheezed back to life after 5 years in storage. 30-gallon capacity, Tom noted. "Enough for maybe 1 shower before it runs cold. And listen to that sediment buildup rumbling." Mrs. Henderson appeared again, this time with several neighbors. "We've been talking, Pearl. What you're doing isn't petty. It's justice. That boy and your parents tried to steal from you." Mr. Patel's daughter was live streaming to her followers. Day 2 of the Great Apartment Restoration. "Look at this vintage stove. 4 burners, but only 2 work. Retro chic or fire hazard. You decide." By midday, attention turned to my outdoor space. The balcony garden I'd cultivated for 5 years was carefully transplanted into containers. Each plant was labeled with care instructions, from the herb garden that supplied my cooking to the Japanese maple I'd grown from a seedling. "These tomato plants are incredible," Tom's landscaping expert said. "The trellis system you designed is ingenious. My grandmother's technique." I explained, gently removing the last plant. "These heirloom varieties took 3 years to establish properly." The balcony restoration revealed rotting deck boards and rusted railings I'd covered with weather-resistant materials. Without my improvements, the space looked hazardous. Tom made more notes about code violations masked by my renovations. Inside, the crew worked on final details. Every upgraded doorknob and hinge was replaced with the originals, most of which stuck or squeaked. The designer light fixtures gave way to bare bulbs and broken ceiling fans. Even the premium outlet covers were swapped back to the cracked plastic originals. The apartment's bones are showing, Maria observed, creating a final walkthrough video, and those bones have osteoporosis. The last major item was the custom front door, a work of art commissioned from a local craftsman. Made of solid mahogany with hand-carved details and museum-quality hardware, it had been the jewel of my renovations. Tom himself supervised its removal. "This door is worth $8,000 easy," he said, examining the craftsmanship. "The artist spent 2 months on these carvings." The original door stored in the building's basement was a hollow core disaster with peeling veneer and a lock that required jiggling to open. As they mounted it, I noticed the door frame damage I'd repaired was visible again, complete with evidence of multiple break-in attempts from before I'd moved in. By 4 o'clock, the transformation was complete. Tom walked through with his final checklist while I followed with Jennifer on video call, ensuring everything was documented. Floors original condition with stains and damage visible. Kitchen 1970s appliances, non-functional drawers, rusted hinges. Bathroom mold present fixtures, corroded ventilation fan broken. electrical outdated panel cloth, wiring exposed inadequate amperage, plumbing evidence of leaks, sediment buildup, multiple patches visible, HVAC window units in various states of disrepair, overall condition habitable but requiring immediate extensive updates for safety and comfort. Jennifer spoke from my phone screen. Pearl, I've calculated the depreciation. Based on comparable properties in original condition versus renovated, you've effectively reduced the value by approximately $200,000. Maybe more given the hidden issues revealed. Perfect, I said, looking around the space that no longer resembled my home. Let them enjoy their gift. The moving trucks were loaded with military precision. Every single item I'd paid for was labeled, photographed, and inventoried. The storage facility had climate-controlled units ready for everything. My plants would go to a greenhouse owned by a friend until I found a new place. As the crews prepared to leave, neighbors gathered in the hallway. Word had spread throughout the building, and opinions were unanimous I'd executed the most brilliant response to theft they'd ever seen. "When does Marcus take possession?" Mrs. Henderson asked. "Tomorrow," I replied, handing Tom the final check for his crew's exceptional work. He demanded I be out within 2 days. I'm simply honoring his timeline. Tom shook my hand firmly. In 20 years of construction, this was the most satisfying job I've ever done. Good luck, Pearl. Your brother has no idea what he's actually won. As the last truck pulled away, I stood in the doorway of the apartment. It looked exactly as it had the day I'd signed the papers 5 years ago, a tired, dated space with good potential, buried under decades of neglect. The irony was perfect. Marcus had schemed to steal my home, but all he'd won was a property desperately needing the kind of investment I'd already made and removed. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. "Pearl, whatever you're doing, stop it right now. This vindictiveness isn't like you." I typed back, "Just finished packing. The apartment is ready for Marcus. Everything is exactly as it should be." Tomorrow would bring fireworks when they discovered what "exactly as it should be" really meant. But tonight I had evidence to review and a strategy to plan. The apartment was just the beginning. Marcus's gambling debts and fraud were about to catch up with him in ways he'd never imagined. I met Robert Chen, the forensic accountant Jennifer had recommended, at a discreet office downtown. His reputation for unraveling complex financial fraud was legendary, and after reviewing my initial findings, he'd cleared his schedule immediately. "Miss Pearl, what you've uncovered is extensive financial fraud," he said, adjusting his glasses as screens filled with data. "Your brother has been quite busy." The numbers were staggering as he walked me through his analysis. "Marcus opened credit cards using your parents' information. Here's an American Express with a $90,000 balance, a Chase Sapphire with $60,000, 3 other cards maxed out at $50,000 each. How did he get approved for such high limits?" "Your parents have excellent credit, had excellent credit," Robert corrected. "These applications claimed household incomes of $500,000 annually. Your father's retirement pension is what, $80,000? $75,000. I confirmed, feeling sick. He's also taken out personal loans against their house, 2 home equity lines of credit totaling $300,000. The money went straight to offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands." Robert pulled up transaction records. From there, it was transferred to various online gambling sites, international ones that don't report to the IRS. "Can we trace it all?" "Already done. Every penny is accounted for. But Pearl, there's more. Your fiancé-to-be's sister-in-law is involved." He showed me corporate records. "Ashley created shell companies to funnel the money. She has an MBA and clearly understood how to structure this to avoid immediate detection." The corporate names were Generic Evergreen Holdings, LLC, Phoenix Capital Management, Sunrise Investment Group. Each one existed just long enough to move money before being dissolved. "She's been teaching him how to hide assets while maintaining access to funds," Robert explained. "But why her family has money?" "Had money. Her father's construction business went bankrupt last year. Lawsuits from subcontractors, unpaid materials bills. Ashley's been pretending everything's fine while desperately seeking new funding sources. Your brother's gambling connections provided quick cash influxes when she needed them. I studied the web of transactions mapped on his screen. These gambling sites, they're not legitimate, are they? Mostly fronts for money laundering operations. Your brother got involved with serious criminals. This Tony Valente he owes. He's connected to organized crime in 3 states. The FBI has a task force dedicated to his operations. FBI, my voice cracked. Financial crimes of this magnitude trigger federal jurisdiction. Once I file my report with the authorities, this becomes a federal investigation. Robert leaned back, his expression grave. Your parents could lose everything. Their house, retirement, savings, all of it. Unless we can prove they were victims of identity theft and fraud, which they clearly were. But Pearl, this kind of recovery takes time. Meanwhile, creditors will freeze accounts, demand payment. Your parents' golden years just became a nightmare. I thought of my father's pride in his financial planning, my mother's dreams of traveling and retirement. Can we protect any of their assets? I'll need full cooperation from them. They'll have to admit they were deceived by their own son. From what you've told me about their favoritism, they'll resist accepting the truth. I finished, until they have no choice. Robert pulled up another screen. Now about Ashley's current activities. She's been shopping your apartment to international investors, not for residents for money laundering. The quick property flip would clean dirty money while giving her and Marcus operating capital. But they don't own it yet. The gift was just announced. She's pre-selling based on anticipated ownership. I found emails to a buyer in Hong Kong promising possession within 30 days. The offered price, $400,000 cash, no questions asked. The apartment's worth maybe $200,000 in its current state. Money launderers pay premiums for cooperative sellers. Ashley promised vacant possession and no questions about renovations or property history. He paused. She's already taken a $50,000 deposit. For property she doesn't own. Fraud upon fraud. If she can't deliver, those buyers won't sue. They'll send collectors. Robert's expression was grim. Your brother and his fiancée have angered dangerous people on multiple fronts. My phone rang. Grace, my father's sister, sounded worried. Pearl, I'm at your parents' house. 2 men came by asking for Marcus. They weren't friendly. Your father's pretending everything's fine, but I saw fear in his eyes. Are they still there? No, but they said they'd return tomorrow. Something about overdue payments and consequences. Pearl, what has Marcus done? More than anyone realizes, Aunt Grace. Can you convince my parents to leave the house tonight? Maybe visit you. I'll try. Your mother's in denial, keeps saying Marcus is just stressed from wedding planning. After I hung up, Robert showed me one final document. This is a life insurance policy Marcus took out on your parents. $1 million each with himself as sole beneficiary, purchased 6 months ago. The implication hit me like a physical blow. He's planning for them to... I won't speculate on his intentions, but people in desperate debt to violent criminals sometimes rationalize extreme solutions. Robert began gathering documents. We need to involve law enforcement immediately. This has escalated beyond family drama. I thought about the denial my parents wrapped themselves in their golden child who could do no wrong. Would they believe Marcus capable of this, or would they blame me for discovering it? There's something else, Robert said. The renovation permits Tom mentioned, I researched them. Marcus was listed as a contractor on several entitled to payments you made directly to vendors. He's been skimming from your renovation budget, too. Approximately $30,000 diverted to his accounts. The betrayal kept deepening. Every interaction I'd had with Marcus over the past year was tainted by deception. His helpful presence during my renovation hadn't been brotherly support, it had been reconnaissance for theft. We have enough evidence to file charges, Robert concluded. Multiple counts of fraud, identity theft, money laundering, conspiracy. Ashley faces similar charges. Your parents can be protected as victims if they cooperate. But Pearl, once this starts, there's no stopping it. Your family will never be the same. I looked at the evidence boxes Robert had compiled, each one meticulously labeled and cross-referenced. My little brother, who I'd helped with homework and driven to soccer practice, had become a criminal who'd potentially put our parents' lives at risk for insurance money. "File the reports," I said quietly. "All of them. My family's already destroyed. At least this way there's hope for justice and recovery." Robert nodded. "I'll contact the FBI Financial Crimes Unit tonight. They'll want to move quickly given the organized crime connections. Be prepared for your life to become very complicated very soon." As I left his office, my phone filled with messages, several from neighbors reporting more visitors asking about Marcus. One from Tom saying someone had tried to break into the storage facility where my renovated items were kept. Another from Maria telling me her social media posts about the apartment restoration had gone viral with 3 million views and climbing. But the message that stopped me cold was from Marcus himself. "Nice stunt with the apartment, sis. Enjoy your petty victory. You have no idea what you've cost me. This isn't over." I thought about the life insurance policies the dangerous men looking for him, the house of cards he'd built on our family's foundation. He was right about one thing: this wasn't over. But he had no idea how thoroughly his schemes were about to collapse. Tomorrow he'd take possession of an apartment worth less than half what he owed. Soon after, federal agents would come knocking. His engagement built on lies would crumble. And our parents would finally see their golden child for what he'd become, a desperate gambler who'd risked everything they'd built for one more bet. I drove to the hotel where I'd been staying, boxes of evidence secured in my trunk. Tomorrow would bring chaos, but tonight I had calls to make and safety measures to arrange. The loan sharks visiting my parents had made this more than financial. It was now about survival, both economic and physical. Wednesday morning arrived with the kind of dramatic flair I'd expected. At 8:15 sharp, my parents' Lincoln Town car pulled up to the apartment building. I watched from across the street, having arrived early to ensure all my possessions were gone. My mother emerged first, dressed as if attending a charity luncheon rather than inspecting her son's new property. My father followed, his expression stern and disapproving. They'd brought Marcus and Ashley, who stepped out looking like they'd won the lottery. Ashley wore a designer dress and carried fabric samples, already planning her redecoration. Marcus strutted with the confidence of someone who believed he'd gotten away with the perfect crime. I waited until they'd entered the building before following at a distance. Mrs. Henderson had promised to text me updates, and my phone buzzed immediately. "They're in for quite a surprise, dear." The scream that echoed down the hallway 5 minutes later was audible from the stairwell. Ashley's voice, high and shrill. "What happened to this place?" I climbed the stairs slowly, timing my arrival for maximum impact. Through the open apartment door, I could hear the chaos. "The floors." My mother's voice cracked. "Patricia, look at these floors. They're destroyed." "These aren't destroyed," I said calmly, entering the apartment. "They're original, exactly as they were when I bought the place 5 years ago." All four turned to stare at me. Ashley's face had gone pale under her makeup. Marcus's confident expression had twisted into rage. My father's stern demeanor cracked, showing confusion underneath. But it was my mother's face that struck me most complete incomprehension. "What did you do?" she whispered, staring at the water-stained parquet flooring. "I honored Marcus's demand to vacate in 2 days," I replied evenly. "I removed my personal property, all of it." The kitchen. Ashley ran to the kitchen and let out another wail. "The appliances are ancient. The counters are... What is this Formica? Original laminate from 1971. I supplied helpfully. The olive green really captures the era, don't you think?" Marcus stalked toward me, fists clenched. "You vindictive little..." "Careful," I interrupted. "We have witnesses." I gestured to the doorway where several neighbors had gathered phones out and recording. My father walked through the apartment in stunned silence, taking in each room. The bathroom with its mold and cracked tiles, The bedrooms with bent wire shelving and stained walls, the living room with its sparking electrical outlets and grinding window air conditioner. "Pearl," he said slowly, "where is everything?" My $50,000 in renovations safely in storage. Every custom cabinet, every hardwood plank, every marble tile. I have receipts for all of it. I pulled out a folder. "Would you like to see the itemized list?" "This is theft," Marcus exploded. "You can't just rip apart an apartment." "I remove my personal property. Here's the interesting thing about those renovation permits, Marcus. You helped file them, remember? You're listed as a contractor. You should know they were filed as personal property improvements, not permanent fixtures." His face went white. "How did you know about your skimming from my renovation budget? That's just one of many interesting discoveries I've made." I kept my voice level, aware of the recording neighbors. Jennifer appeared in the doorway, professional in her suit and carrying a briefcase. "Mr. and Mrs. Patterson, I'm Jennifer Walsh, Pearl's attorney. I need to inform you that this property is now subject to a federal investigation." Federal. My mother grabbed my father's arm. "What is she talking about?" "Perhaps we should discuss this privately," Jennifer suggested, eyeing the growing crowd of neighbors. "No," I said firmly. "They chose to make my humiliation public at the engagement party. They can handle public accountability." I turned to my parents. "Did you know Marcus owes $200,000 in gambling debts, or that he's stolen your identities to open credit cards?" "That's a lie," Marcus shouted. "She's making things up because she's jealous." "Is that why Tony Valente's men came to Mom and Dad's house yesterday?" I asked calmly. My father's face drained of color. "Those men, they said they were looking for you, Marcus. Said you owed them money. Did you know he's taken out $300,000 in loans against your house?" I continued. "Or that he's been draining your retirement accounts?" "Stop it," my mother's voice was shrill. "Stop these lies." Jennifer opened her briefcase, pulling out documents. "These aren't lies, Mrs. Patterson. These are bank statements, credit reports, and loan documents, all in your names, all benefiting Marcus." Ashley had been backing toward the door, but I wasn't done. "Running away won't help, Ashley. The FBI knows about your shell companies. They know about the $50,000 deposit you took from Hong Kong buyers for an apartment you don't own." "I don't know what you're talking about," Ashley said, but her voice shook. "Evergreen Holdings, LLC, Phoenix Capital Management." I listed the shell companies Robert had identified. "Your father's bankruptcy left you desperate, so you helped Marcus hide stolen money. You taught him how to create offshore accounts." "Marcus?" Ashley turned on him. "What is she talking about?" "She's lying." But Marcus's voice cracked and sweat beaded on his forehead. Mr. Patel's daughter stepped forward from the crowd phone, extended. "Actually, it's all documented. Pearl's friend Maria posted the evidence online. The FBI Financial Crimes Unit has already responded to the viral thread. 3.5 million views and climbing." My mother sank onto the floor, staring at the stained carpet where my leather sectional used to sit. "This can't be happening." "The apartment," my father said slowly, understanding dawning. "You did this because you knew it was worthless to them. Without your renovations, they can't sell it for enough to pay any debts." "The current value is approximately $180,000, I confirmed. "In this condition, possibly less. The inspection report I commissioned yesterday found several code violations that my renovations had corrected. The building inspector will be here this afternoon." "You planned this," Marcus accused. "You set me up." "No, Marcus. You set yourself up the moment you decided to steal from our parents and con me out of my home. I just refused to be your victim." Sirens echoed from outside. Jennifer checked her phone. "That would be the federal agents. They have warrants for financial records and arrests for fraud charges." "Arrests." My mother struggled to her feet. No, there must be a mistake. 2 FBI agents appeared in the doorway, badges visible. "Marcus Patterson, Ashley Chen. You're under arrest for wire fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy." The next few minutes were chaos. Marcus tried to run but was quickly restrained. Ashley sobbed about her innocence while being handcuffed. My parents stood frozen, watching their golden child being read his rights. "Mom, Dad," I said quietly, "you need to listen to Jennifer. You're victims here too. The agents will need your cooperation to recover what assets we can." "How could you do this to your brother?" My mother whispered, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't do anything to him. I protected you from losing everything." I gestured around the apartment. "This was going to be sold to criminals for money laundering. You would have been accessories to federal crimes." As the agents led Marcus and Ashley away, Marcus turned back, his face twisted with hatred. "This isn't over, Pearl. You've destroyed everything." "No," I replied calmly. "You destroyed everything the moment you chose greed over family. I just made sure you couldn't take everyone else down with you." The apartment emptied except for my parents, Jennifer, and me. My father sank into the old folding chair I'd left behind, his age suddenly showing. "The house?" he asked Jennifer quietly. "Encumbered by fraudulent loans but recoverable through victim restitution procedures. Your retirement accounts have been frozen pending investigation. You'll need to file identity theft reports immediately." "How long have you known?" my mother asked me, her voice broken. "Since Sunday night. I found his records while packing." I knelt beside her. "I know you love him. I love him too. But he was willing to let you lose everything rather than admit his addiction. He took out life insurance policies on you both." The implication hit them simultaneously. My father's hands shook. My mother covered her mouth, finally understanding the danger they'd been in. "Pearl saved your lives," Jennifer said gently. "In more ways than one. The people Marcus owed would have come after family assets eventually. Now they'll have to go through federal bankruptcy courts." "The apartment," my father said, looking around at the dilapidated space. "We gave him nothing but problems." "You gave him exactly what you took from me," I corrected. "An apartment. Just not the home I'd built. That belongs to me, and I'll be using those assets to start over somewhere you can't hurt me again." "Pearl, please." My mother reached for me. "We didn't know. We thought we were helping both of you." "No, Mom. You thought you were rewarding your favorite child at my expense. Again. Just like every sports award, every birthday party, every achievement of mine overshadowed by Marcus's needs." I stood up. "Jennifer will help you navigate the legal process. I've done what I could to protect you from complete ruin. The rest is up to you." 3 hours later, I sat in Jennifer's office reviewing documents when her assistant knocked urgently. "Marcus Patterson is in the lobby. He's agitated." Through the security monitor, we could see Marcus pacing his expensive suit, disheveled, clearly out on bail already. Ashley's wealthy father must have posted bond for them both. His face was contorted with rage as he shouted at the security guard. "Let him up," I decided, "but have security stand by." Jennifer raised an eyebrow. "You sure? He needs to understand this is over, all of it." Marcus burst through the door moments later, his carefully styled hair wild, his eyes bloodshot. The confident golden boy was gone, replaced by a desperate man watching his house of cards collapse. "You destroyed my life." He slammed his fists on Jennifer's desk, making her lamp jump. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" "Revealed the truth." I remained calm, though my heart raced. "Prevented you from destroying our parents completely." "They were fine. Everything was under control until you—" He gestured wildly, knocking over Jennifer's pencil holder. "The apartment was supposed to solve everything. Ashley had buyers lined up." "Money launderers," I corrected. "You were going to make our parents accomplices to federal crimes." "Stop acting so righteous." Spittle flew from his mouth. "You always had everything. Perfect grades, perfect job, perfect little life in your perfect apartment. Which you stole." "I deserved it." The words exploded out of him. "Do you know what it's like growing up in your shadow, Pearl, the honor student? Pearl, the responsible one. Pearl, who never needed help, never caused problems." So you decided to cause enough problems for both of us. Marcus laughed bitterly. I had a system. The gambling was under control until that last bet. Just needed one big win to fix everything. There's always one more bet with addicts, Jennifer interjected calmly. It's never under control. Shut up, Marcus whirled on her. You don't know anything about me. I know you owe Tony Valente $100,000, I said quietly. I know his men visited Mom and Dad. I know you're 3 days overdue on a payment that comes with broken bones as interest. The remaining color drained from Marcus's face. How do you... I know everything, Marcus. Every bet, every debt, every forged signature. I pulled out a printed screenshot, including this interesting payment to a downtown clinic. Ashley's pregnancy test last month was negative, wasn't it? The whole rushed engagement was another con. Marcus's jaw dropped. You hacked my accounts. Didn't have to. You used my computer, remember left yourself logged into everything. I leaned forward. Did Mom and Dad know the grandchild they were so excited about was fictional? His silence was answer enough. Let me guess, I continued. Ashley threatened to leave unless you proved you could provide the lifestyle she wanted. The engagement party was your proof and my apartment was the prize. She was going to leave me. Marcus's voice cracked. Her father cut her off after the bankruptcy. She said I was a loser just like him unless I could secure our future. So you decided to secure it with theft and fraud. I was going to pay everyone back. He slumped into a chair, the rage suddenly deflating into desperation. The Hong Kong buyers would have covered Valente. The apartment sale would have cleared the credit cards. I had it all planned. Built on a foundation of lies and my stolen property. Marcus looked up at me, and for a moment I saw my little brother, the one who used to climb into my bed during thunderstorms, the one I taught to ride a bike. Then his face hardened again. You took everything from me. Ashley's gone. Bailed me out, then disappeared with the ring I couldn't afford. Says her father forbids her from associating with criminals. He laughed bitterly. 3 years together and she vanished the second the money did. She was using you like you used everyone else. The arrest is all over social media. He continued, not seeming to hear me. 3 of my clients already fired me. My firm put me on indefinite suspension. My face is trending with #apartmentscammer. Jennifer's assistant knocked again. Sorry to interrupt, but there are 2 men in the lobby asking for Mr. Patterson. They seem insistent. On the monitor, we could see 2 large men in expensive suits. Tony Valente's collectors. Marcus saw them too and went rigid. I can't go down there, he whispered. They'll kill me. Federal custody might be safer than bail, Jennifer suggested. Violate your bail conditions, get remanded. Protective custody is an option. Prison. Marcus's voice cracked. I can't go to prison. Do you know what they do to people like me in prison? What you're going to do, I said firmly, is face the consequences of your choices. Mom and Dad need you to cooperate with the FBI to recover their assets. That's the only way to help them now. Help them, they'll hate me forever. They'll be angry, hurt, betrayed. But they'll still love you because that's who they are. I stood up. That unconditional love you've exploited your whole life. It's the only thing that might save you now. Marcus stared at me, something shifting in his expression. You planned every detail, the renovation removal, the evidence exposure, the timing. You're not the perfect sister everyone thinks you are. You're calculating. Cold. I'm someone who refused to be a victim, I replied. You want to know the difference between us? When life got hard, I worked overtime shifts. You placed bets. When I wanted something, I saved for it. You stole it. When I made mistakes, I owned them. You blamed everyone else. Easy to be righteous when you've never failed at anything. You think I've never failed. My voice rose for the first time. I failed to get into my dream medical school. Failed at 2 relationships because I worked too much. Failed to see my own brother was a con artist using me. The difference is I got up and tried again instead of deciding the world owed me success. Security's voice crackled through the intercom. "The men are getting impatient. Should we call police?" Marcus grabbed my hand suddenly, desperation replacing anger. "Pearl, please, call them off, pay them. I'll give you anything, sign anything. The apartment's yours. I'll make it legal. Just don't let them hurt me." I pulled my hands away. "I can't pay your debts, Marcus, and I won't enable you anymore." Ms. Patterson, security called again. The men left a message. They'll be waiting outside. They said Mr. Patterson has 1 hour to come down voluntarily. Marcus made a sound like a wounded animal. All his bravado, his schemes, his confidence reduced to raw fear. "What do I do?" "You call your bail bondsman," Jennifer said, pulling out a business card. "Tell him you violated bail conditions by contacting your victim, me. You'll be remanded to custody within the hour. It's your only safe option." "Then you cooperate fully with the FBI," I added. "Every detail, every crime, every person involved. It's the only way to reduce your sentence and protect Mom and Dad." Marcus stared at the business card like it was a poisonous snake. 5 years. My lawyer said I'm looking at 5 years minimum. Better than what Tony Valenti has planned. He stood slowly, suddenly looking far older than his 30 years. At the door, he turned back. "I hated you, you know, for being everything I couldn't be, for making it look so easy." "It was never easy," I replied quietly. "You just never saw me struggle because you were too focused on yourself." Carolina's voice was small. "I'm sorry about the apartment. I knew how much it meant to you. I needed it more." "No, Marcus, you wanted it more. There's a difference." He left without another word. Through the window, we watched him exit the building, phone pressed to his ear. The 2 collectors started toward him, but a police car pulled up first. Marcus held up his hands, letting them cuff him. The collectors watched, spoke briefly to each other, then left. "He'll be safer in custody," Jennifer observed. "Valente can't collect from a federal inmate." "Will our parents be okay?" I asked, exhaustion suddenly overwhelming me. "Financially, eventually. Your evidence gives them solid victim status. Insurance will cover some losses. The house will need to be sold, but they'll have enough for a modest retirement." She paused. "Emotionally, that's harder to predict." My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. "The FBI agent says you saved us from complete ruin. I don't understand everything yet, but thank you. Your father says to tell you he's proud of your strength. We're so sorry, Pearl, for everything. Can we talk soon?" I stared at the text, feeling emotions I couldn't name. Relief, sadness, vindication. All of them and none of them. "What will you do now?" Jennifer asked gently. "Start over." I said, thinking of my carefully removed renovations waiting in storage. Find a new place that's truly mine. Build a life without toxic family dynamics. "And your parents?" "Maybe someday. After therapy. After they acknowledge the favoritism that created this disaster. After I heal from years of being second best in my own family." I stood to leave. But not today. As I walked out of Jennifer's building, I felt lighter than I had in years. The apartment was gone, but so was the weight of always trying to earn my family's approval. Marcus would serve time-get treatment, hopefully emerge better. My parents would face hard truths and financial reality. And me, I had my savings, my possessions, my integrity intact. The storage unit held not just renovations, but possibilities. Somewhere in this city was a space waiting to become my true home, one no one could take away. My phone rang. Maria's excited voice burst through. "Pearl, the video hit 10 million views. 3 news stations want interviews. And get this, a developer saw the before and after photos. He wants to hire you as a renovation consultant. Says anyone who can transform a space that dramatically understands property value." I smiled the first genuine smile in days. One door had closed, but others were opening. The apartment was Marcus's problem now, a deteriorating reminder of schemes that destroyed more than they built. I had better things to build, starting with a life where I was the priority, not an afterthought, where my achievements stood on their own, not in someone else's shadow, where home meant safety, not something that could be stolen by those who claimed to love me. The sun was setting as I drove toward my hotel, boxes of evidence delivered to authorities' family, confronted with truth. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, interviews, apartment hunting, rebuilding. But tonight, for the first time in years, I felt free. The family meeting convened at 8 that evening in my parents' dining room, the same table where Marcus had been praised and I'd been overlooked for 28 years. But tonight was different. Tonight, the golden child's throne lay in pieces. Grace had insisted on hosting, knowing neutral ground was impossible at my parents' home. She'd arranged chairs in a circle rather than the traditional hierarchy of the dining table. My parents sat together looking fragile and lost. Grace positioned herself strategically between me and them. Even Marcus's childhood friend Dennis had come, saying Marcus had called him frantically before being arrested. "I've asked everyone here," Grace began firmly, "because this family has operated on secrets and favoritism for too long. Everything comes out tonight." Jennifer sat beside me with boxes of evidence. Across from us, Robert Chen prepared his laptop for the financial presentation. The FBI had approved sharing certain information to help the family understand the scope of Marcus's crimes. "I don't understand why Pearl had to involve the authorities." My mother started, her voice thin and wounded. "We could have handled this as a family." "Patricia." Grace's voice was sharp. "Your son stole your identity, drained your retirement, and put you in physical danger. This stopped being a family matter when loan sharks showed up at your door." Robert connected his laptop to Grace's television. "Mr. and Mrs. Patterson, I need you to understand the full scope of what Marcus did. This wasn't a momentary lapse in judgment. This was systematic fraud over 2 years." The screen filled with bank statements. My mother gasped as Robert highlighted transaction after transaction. "January 15th, 50,000 transferred from your retirement account to Gold Star Casino. February 3rd, 30,000 to BetPro International. March 22nd, 75,000 cash advance on a credit card opened in your name." His voice remained clinical as he documented the devastation. "Total stolen from retirement savings, $327,000. "That's impossible," my father whispered. "We would have noticed." "Marcus had your mail forwarded to a private box," Robert explained. "He intercepted statements, filed fake ones in your home office. He knew you trusted him to help with your finances after your mild stroke last year, Richard." I watched my father's face crumble as he remembered asking Marcus to help manage their accounts during his recovery. The betrayal cut deep. "The credit cards are worse," Robert continued. 18 cards total, all maxed out. Total debt in your names, $483,000. The monthly minimums alone exceed your pension income. "But why?" My mother's voice broke. "We gave him everything. The car for graduation, the down payment for his condo money whenever he asked." "That's exactly why." Dennis spoke up unexpectedly. "You never said no to him. Ever. I watched it for years. Pearl works 2 jobs through nursing school, and you barely notice. Marcus fails out of his first college, and you buy him a new car to cheer him up." "Dennis," my mother protested, "you don't understand." "I understand perfectly. Marcus called me before his arrest, still blaming Pearl. Said she was jealous, vindictive. Then he asked me to lie to the FBI, say he was with me during certain transactions." Dennis shook his head. 20-year friendship, and he wanted me to commit perjury for him. Grace pulled out a folder. "I've been documenting things for years, Patricia. Every Christmas where Pearl's gifts were afterthoughts while Marcus got extravaganzas. Every family dinner where his stories dominated while Pearl's achievements were brushed aside. Did you know Pearl was valedictorian of her nursing school? No, because Marcus had a basketball game that day." "That's not fair," my father protested weakly. "Isn't it?" I spoke for the first time. "Dad, name one of my achievements you celebrated the way you celebrated Marcus making junior varsity." Silence stretched painfully. "Your nursing degree," he started. Was announced in the middle of Marcus's graduation party from his third college. You said, "Oh, Pearl graduated too," like it was a footnote. My voice remained steady, though my heart raced. Robert cleared his throat. "May I continue? There's more you need to understand." The presentation shifted to Ashley's involvement. Shell company structures appeared on screen, money flowing through corporate entities in a complex web. Ashley Chen isn't just a passive participant. She orchestrated the money laundering structure. Her MBA thesis was on international finance law. She knew exactly how to hide assets while maintaining access. "But she seems so sweet," my mother murmured. "So devoted to Marcus." "She was devoted to Marcus's access to money," Jennifer corrected. "We have recordings from her laptop seized during arrest. She discussed with friends how Marcus was her lottery ticket out of her father's bankruptcy shame." The screen showed a transcript. Ashley's words were calculating, "Marcus is easily manipulated. Mommy and Daddy worship him. Once we're married, I'll have access to their entire estate. The gambling debts are concerning but manageable if we can leverage the right assets." "The pregnancy announcement?" my mother asked weakly. "Fake," Robert confirmed. "Medical records show she was never pregnant. The engagement was rushed to create urgency for the apartment transfer." "They played you," Grace said bluntly. "Both of them. While you were planning your grandchild's nursery, they were scheming to steal Pearl's home." My father stood abruptly pacing to the window. "The life insurance policies. Pearl mentioned life insurance." Robert clicked to a new screen. 2 policies, $1 million each, taken out 6 months ago. The beneficiary, Marcus Patterson, sole recipient. "No," my mother breathed. "He wouldn't. Not our son. Not our baby." "Your baby is 30 years old with a gambling addiction and loan sharks threatening his life," Grace said firmly. "He was desperate enough to consider any option." "We don't know he would have," my father started. "Tony Valente's organization is linked to 16 suspicious deaths in 3 states, Robert stated factually. "When debtors can't pay but have life insurance policies on relatives' accidents happen. Marcus knew this. He discussed it in intercepted communications." Jennifer pulled out a printed message. "This is from Marcus's encrypted messaging app. Quote, parents are worth more dead than alive at this point. Insurance pays out quick, solves everyone's problems." End quote. The silence that followed was deafening. My mother collapsed into her chair, sobbing. My father returned from the window, looking every one of his 70 years. "Pearl saved your lives," Grace said quietly. "By exposing this when she did by involving authorities, she prevented something unthinkable." "But at the engagement party," my mother choked out, "the way he smiled when we gave him the apartment. He looked so happy." "He was happy," I said. "He thought he'd won. The apartment was worth enough to buy him time with Valente, maybe clear some debts. He never expected me to fight back." Dennis leaned forward. "Mrs. Patterson, I need you to hear something. Marcus used to laugh about how easy it was to manipulate you. He called you the ATM when talking to friends. Said Pearl was stupid for working when she could just cry to mommy like he did. Each word hit my parents like physical blows. The image of their golden child was shattering piece by piece. "There's one more thing," Robert said quietly. "The forensic audit of Pearl's renovation expenses. Marcus skimmed $30,000 from her contractor payments. He had access to her accounts because she trusted him. He stole from his sister while she was improving a property you would later give him. I found those records while packing," I added. "Realized he'd been stealing from me even as I helped him. Every family dinner where he'd hug me, call me best sister, he was calculating what else he could take." My father finally spoke, his voice hollow. "We created a monster." "You created a child who never faced consequences," Grace corrected. "Every time Pearl succeeded through hard work, you rewarded Marcus for simply existing. Every time he failed, you cushioned the blow instead of letting him learn." "The apartment," my mother said suddenly. "We gave him a worthless apartment." "Worth about $160,000 after the inspection report," Jennifer confirmed. Multiple code violations needed repairs estimated at $90,000 minimum. Without Pearl's renovations, it's barely sellable. Good, my father said with sudden vehemence. Let him see what his schemes really won. Robert began packing up his presentation. The FBI needs your full cooperation. Every document, every memory of suspicious activity. It's the only way to recover any assets. Will we lose the house? My mother asked. Probably, Robert answered honestly. But with cooperation and victim status, you might recover enough for a modest condo. Your retirement will be delayed significantly. What about Marcus? My father asked. What happens to him? Federal prison 5 to 8 years, most likely. Longer if he doesn't cooperate. He'll receive mandatory gambling addiction treatment. Whether it helps? Jennifer shrugged. That's up to him. Can we visit him? That's your choice, I said, standing to leave. But I won't be joining you. Marcus made his choices. I've made mine. Pearl. My mother reached for me. Please, we're sorry. We see it now, all of it. The favoritism, the blindness. Please don't leave us too. I paused at the doorway. I'm not leaving you, Mom. But I'm not returning to the role of overlooked daughter either. You want a relationship with me? It starts with therapy. Real accountability. And accepting that Marcus is a criminal who endangered your lives, not a misunderstood boy who made mistakes. We'll do anything, my father said. Therapy, whatever you need. We've lost one child to our failures. Please don't let us lose you, too. You haven't lost me, I said softly. But you have to earn me. For the first time in my life, I'm the priority, not Marcus's sister or your backup child. Me, Pearl, on my terms. I left Grace's house with Jennifer breathing in the cool night air. Behind us, my parents faced the complete destruction of their illusions. Ahead of me lay freedom from a lifetime of being second best. My phone buzzed, a text from the storage facility. Your renovation materials have been cataloged and appraised. Estimated value $78,000. Several contractors have expressed interest in purchasing if you're selling. I smiled. Those materials would seed my new beginning far from family who'd never truly seen me. The truth had shattered their comfortable lies, forced them to see the child they'd created and the one they'd overlooked. It was devastating. It was necessary. It was finally completely over. The next morning arrived with an ominous phone call at 6 a.m. My father's voice shook through the speaker. Pearl, they're here. 2 men. They're demanding to speak to Marcus. I was already dressed, having anticipated this. Don't open the door. I'm on my way with security. 20 minutes later, I arrived at my parents' house with Jennifer and 2 off-duty police officers she'd arranged. Through the living room window, I could see the men my father described, one tall and lean in an expensive suit, the other shorter, but built like a boxer. Both stood on the porch with the casual confidence of those used to getting their way through fear. Federal agents are aware of the situation, Jennifer reminded me, but these men haven't technically committed a crime yet. They're just visiting. I stepped out of the car and both men turned toward me. The taller one smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. You must be Pearl, he said smoothly. I'm Vincent, associate of Mr. Valente. We're looking for your brother. He's in federal custody, I replied evenly, as I'm sure you know. Vincent's smile widened. Unfortunate. He has obligations that don't pause for legal inconveniences. Then you'll need to file a claim with the bankruptcy court like any other creditor. The shorter man laughed a harsh sound. Bankruptcy court lady, we don't do paperwork. Then you have a problem, I said, maintaining eye contact with Vincent, because paperwork is all you're going to get. Vincent stepped closer just enough to be intimidating without crossing legal lines. Your brother owes $100,000, plus interest, daily interest. Family debts have a way of becoming family problems. Are you threatening my parents? Threatening. Vincent placed a hand over his heart in mock offense. We're businessmen having a conversation about outstanding debts. Your brother used family assets as collateral. Verbal contracts are still contracts. Jennifer stepped forward. Any verbal contract for illegal gambling debts is unenforceable and void. You have no legal claim to any family assets. Legal, the shorter man scoffed. You think we care about legal? You should, I said, pulling out my phone, because you're being recorded. This entire conversation is being live-streamed to a cloud server and simultaneously shared with FBI task force agents monitoring your boss's operations. Both men stiffened. The shorter one reached into his jacket, but Vincent stopped him with a gesture. Smart girl, Vincent murmured, but recordings don't pay debts. No, but they provide excellent evidence for racketeering charges. I kept my voice steady despite my racing heart. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave my parents alone. Marcus's debt is his problem, and he's now federal property. You can't collect from someone in protective custody. Protective custody doesn't last forever. No, but federal investigations do. Your boss is already under surveillance for money laundering, illegal gambling operations, and suspected murder. Do you really want to add harassment and intimidation of federal witnesses to that list? Vincent's eyes narrowed. Witnesses? My parents are cooperating fully with the FBI regarding Marcus's fraud and your organization's involvement. They're now protected witnesses. Harm them, threaten them, even park outside their house too long, and you'll trigger federal intervention. The two men exchanged looks. I pressed on, sensing their uncertainty. Marcus has no money. The apartment he thought he'd scored is worthless, needs more in repairs than it's worth. His fiancée disappeared with what little he had left. Your boss can write off the debt as a business loss, or he can escalate and bring federal heat down on his entire operation. Which do you think Tony Valenti prefers? Vincent studied me for a long moment. You're not like your brother. No, I'm not. I pay my debts and protect my family. Marcus did neither. The debt doesn't disappear, Vincent said finally. If Marcus emerges from prison thinking it's forgotten, he'll learn otherwise. Then he'll have to figure that out in 5 to 8 years. But my parents are off limits. That's non-negotiable. The shorter man spat on the lawn. This ain't over. Yes, it is, Jennifer interjected. My clients have documentation of all threats made. Any future contact will be considered witness intimidation and prosecuted accordingly. Vincent straightened his tie, the gesture somehow menacing. We'll be in touch with Marcus's legal representation about asset recovery through proper channels. The words dripped with sarcasm. Pleasant meeting you, Pearl. Your brother should have learned from you instead of trying to be something he wasn't. They walked to their black SUV with unhurried steps, making a show of their lack of fear. But they left, and that's what mattered. I waited until their vehicle turned the corner before letting out the breath I'd been holding. My hands shook as I lowered the phone. You did great, Jennifer said. But this isn't over. They'll look for other ways to recover the debt. I know, but I bought time and established boundaries. I turned toward the house where my parents waited. Let's make sure they understand the danger isn't past. Inside, my parents huddled on the couch like frightened children. My mother had been crying, her carefully applied makeup streaked. My father's hands trembled as he held a baseball bat, as if that would have helped against professional criminals. They're gone, I announced. For now. Pearl. My mother sobbed. Those men, they said such terrible things. Said Marcus promised them the apartment proceeds. Said we'd encourage the debt by enabling him. They weren't entirely wrong about the enabling, I said, sitting across from them. But that doesn't justify threats. You're now under federal witness protection protocols. Agent Martinez will be here soon to explain the details. Witness protection. My father's voice cracked. Like in movies, new identities. No just monitoring and rapid response if they return. You'll have panic buttons, regular check-ins. Your cooperation with the FBI grants you protected status. My mother reached for me again. How do you know all this? How are you so calm? Because I spent 3 days researching while you were in denial, I replied. I knew this was coming the moment I found Marcus's debts. I prepared for every scenario. We could have been killed. My father said the reality finally hitting him. Our son's choices could have gotten us killed. But they didn't, because Pearl exposed everything in time. Jennifer reminded them, those men now know you're protected and have no assets worth pursuing. They'll focus on Marcus himself once he's released. In 5 years, my mother whispered. What happens in 5 years? Marcus either learns from this and rebuilds his life away from here, or he doesn't. That's his choice. I stood up. Agent Martinez will help you understand your options. I need to go. Pearl, wait, my father called out. Stay, please, we're scared. I paused, looking at these people who'd raised me but never really seen me. They looked small now, vulnerable in a way that the golden child's parents never had before. I'll stay until Agent Martinez arrives, I conceded. But then I have apartment viewings. My life doesn't stop because Marcus's crimes caught up with him. We spent the next hour in awkward silence, broken only by my mother's occasional sobs and my father's repeated checking of locked doors. When Agent Martinez arrived with his partner, I felt relief at the professional competence they brought to the chaos. Mr. and Mrs. Patterson. Agent Martinez began, "You're victims of identity theft and fraud perpetrated by your son. Your cooperation makes you valuable witnesses. We take witness safety seriously." As they explained protocols and procedures, I quietly gathered my things. My parents were in good hands, better than Marcus had left them in. The loan sharks would think twice before harassing protected federal witnesses. At the door, my mother caught my arm. "Pearl, will you ever forgive us?" "Forgiveness isn't the issue, Mom. It's about patterns. 28 years of patterns don't change overnight because you finally see the consequences." I gentled my voice. "Focus on your safety and recovery. We'll address our relationship when you're stable." Outside, I sat in my car for a moment, processing the morning's events. Vincent and his partner were dangerous, but pragmatic. They'd calculate the cost-benefit of pursuing a debt versus attracting federal attention. My parents' new status should tip that calculation toward leaving them alone. My phone buzzed with messages. 3 apartment showings confirmed for this afternoon. A consulting offer from the developer Maria had mentioned. An interview request from a major news outlet about family fraud and standing up to favoritism. The old Pearl would have ignored these opportunities to focus on family crisis, but that Pearl had been invisible, overlooked, taken for granted. The new Pearl had faced down loan sharks, exposed a criminal conspiracy, and refused to be anyone's victim. I drove away from my childhood home, leaving my parents to face the reality of what their golden child had become. They'd survived this with federal protection and hard lessons learned. Whether they'd truly change remained to be seen. But I had apartments to view, a business to consider launching, and a life to build on my own terms. Marcus's loan sharks were his problem now, just like the worthless apartment and the prison sentence and the shattered illusions he'd sold for one more bet. My phone rang. Maria's excited voice burst through. "Pearl, the interview you gave about family fraud just went viral. 2 million views in 3 hours. You're trending #1 with #standup to favoritism. And that developer he wants to meet tomorrow. Says anyone who can handle family drama with such strategic thinking belongs in business." I smiled, turning toward the first apartment viewing. Every ending was also a beginning. Marcus had stolen my home but inadvertently given me something better, freedom from seeking approval that would never come, strength forged in betrayal's fire, and a story that resonated with millions who'd been overlooked in their own families. The loan sharks were handled. The family was exposed. The truth had won. Now it was time to build something new. Friday morning brought unexpected drama when Ashley Chen appeared at my hotel lobby, designer sunglasses, failing to hide her puffy eyes. She looked nothing like the confident woman who'd measured my apartment for renovations just days ago. "Pearl," she called out as I headed for the exit. "Please, we need to talk." I paused, considering. Jennifer had advised avoiding contact with co-defendants, but curiosity won. 5 minutes in public, and I'm recording. We sat at the hotel cafe, Ashley fidgeting with her engagement ring, a 3-carat diamond that must have cost Marcus another credit card. "I know you hate me," She began. "I don't hate you, Ashley. I nothing you. You're just another person who tried to steal from me and failed." Her perfectly painted lips trembled. "I didn't know about your renovations. Marcus said the apartment was a gift from your parents, that you were moving to California anyway. And you believed him with your MBA and financial expertise." I wanted to believe him. She pulled out her phone, scrolling to photos. "Look at this, our wedding Pinterest board. $200,000 budget. Destination ceremony in Fiji. I knew Marcus couldn't afford it, but he swore the apartment would solve everything." "So you helped him launder money and commit fraud?" "I helped him structure investments." Her voice rose, then dropped as other patrons looked over. "I thought I was helping him manage gambling winnings, not stolen funds." "Shell companies in the Cayman Islands offshore accounts. Come on, Ashley, you knew exactly what you were doing." She was quiet for a moment, then laughed bitterly. "You're right. I knew, but I was desperate. Do you know what it's like watching your father's empire crumble? Watching repo men take your Mercedes, having your credit cards declined at Nordstrom. So you decided to steal from others. I decided to survive." She leaned forward. "Marcus was supposed to be my ticket back to the life I deserved. He talked big, always had schemes. I thought I could control him, channel his energy into legitimate investments once we had capital. Capital from my stolen apartment. I didn't know it was yours." She actually seemed to believe this mattered. "He said his parents were downsizing, giving him their investment property. I had no idea you lived there, that you'd renovated it yourself." I pulled out my phone, showing her photos from Maria's social media. "This was my home. Every tile, every fixture, every detail chosen with love. And you called it too feminine and planned to destroy it all." Ashley stared at the before and after photos, something shifting in her expression. "My God, you did all this. The transformation is incredible. 5 years of work. 50,000 in improvements. Gone because you and Marcus thought you deserved it more." "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "That's not why I'm here, though. I have information you need." "In exchange for you convincing the FBI I was manipulated too, that I was another victim of Marcus's lies." She pulled out a tablet. "I recorded everything. Every conversation about the gambling debts, the loan sharks, even his plans for your parents. You recorded your fiancé. I'm not stupid, Pearl. I knew Marcus was unstable. I started recording for insurance months ago." She opened a file. "Listen to this one. 3 weeks before the engagement party." Marcus's voice filled the space between us. "Once we get the apartment, we flip it fast. Cash buyers only. Pearl will throw her typical tantrum, but my parents always take my side. She'll cave like always." Ashley's voice responded, "What if she doesn't? She seems attached to it." "Then we make her life hell until she does. I know things about her. That ex who stalked her still has her number. Amazing what people do when properly motivated." My blood ran cold. He was going to sick my stalker ex on me. Ashley nodded. "There's more. Hours of it. Him discussing your parents' life insurance planning to drain their accounts completely, even talking about having you committed if you fought too hard." "Committed." "He researched involuntary psychiatric holds, figured if he could paint you as unstable after losing his apartment, he could become your financial conservator." She swiped to another recording. "He practiced concerned brother speeches about your breakdown." I listened in horror as my brother rehearsed lies about my mental health, painting a picture of a sister spiraling out of control, needing family intervention for her own good. "I have everything," Ashley continued. "Recordings, emails, text messages. 3 months of evidence that Marcus orchestrated everything, that he manipulated everyone, including me." "You weren't manipulated. You were complicit." "But I can prove I tried to stop him." She played another recording where she argued against the life insurance scheme, warning it was too dangerous. "See, I have limits. I wanted money, not murder." Such high standards. "Mock me all you want, but this evidence is gold for the FBI. It proves premeditation conspiracy, even potential attempted murder planning. She leaned back. All I want is a deal, probation instead of prison. I'll testify against him, provide everything. Why betray him now? Her laugh was harsh. Because he betrayed me first. Did you know the engagement ring is fake? I had it appraised after the arrest. Cubic zirconia in a gold-plated band. 3 months of wearing a lie while he promised me the world. She pulled off the ring, tossing it on the table between us. Under the cafe lights, it was obviously fake, the kind of thing sold on late-night shopping channels. Everything was a lie, she continued. The money he flashed was stolen. The connections he bragged about were loan sharks. The future he promised was built on fraud. I gave up my last real relationships for him, burned bridges with college friends who warned me he was trouble. And now you want sympathy? I want survival. Her voice hardened. I'm 29 with a fraud arrest on my record. My father disowned me. My mother won't take my calls. Even my Instagram followers abandoned me after Maria's video went viral. I've lost everything. Everything you tried to steal. Yes, fine, I was greedy and stupid and desperate. But I have information that could add years to Marcus's sentence and protect your parents from future schemes. She pushed the tablet toward me. Take it. Everything's there. Password is Ashley deserves better. I almost laughed at the password. You think you deserved better than consequences. I deserved better than Marcus, she said firmly. I'm not a good person, Pearl, I know that. But I'm not a complete monster either. I drew lines. No violence, no targeting elderly parents beyond the apartment. When he started talking about accidents and insurance payouts, I started recording everything. I took the tablet, scrolling through the files. Hours of recordings, thousands of messages, detailed documentation of every scheme. It was a prosecutor's dream. Why not take this directly to the FBI? Because they'll use it and still send me to prison. But if you, the victim, advocate for leniency based on my cooperation, she trailed off hopefully. You want me to help you after you tried to steal my home. I want you to be practical. With my testimony and evidence, Marcus gets maximum sentence. Your parents get closure. The loan sharks get nothing. Everyone wins except the real villain. You're a villain too, Ashley. A minor one. The supporting actress who realized she was in the wrong movie and wants to switch sides before the final act. She gathered her purse. Think about it. My lawyer says you have influence with the prosecution. Use it and I'll bury Marcus so deep he'll need archaeological equipment to find daylight. She stood to leave, then turned back. For what it's worth, your apartment was beautiful. The renovation work was museum quality. I actually felt bad planning to change it, but I needed to mark territory. Stupid petty girl stuff. It wasn't girl stuff, it was theft stuff. Yeah, that too. She managed a rueful smile. Marcus picked the wrong sister to scam. You're terrifying when crossed. He always said you were weak, too nice to fight back. Guess that's just another thing he was wrong about. After she left, I sat with the tablet processing the recordings. Marcus's voice detailing schemes, calculating profits from our parents' deaths, planning to destroy my life if I resisted. Each file revealed new depths of his depravity. Jennifer arrived within an hour, having received my urgent message. She whistled low as she reviewed the evidence. This is a gold mine. With Ashley's cooperation, Marcus is looking at 10 to 15 years, not 5. Should I help her? Honestly, yes. She's a small fish who got caught in bigger schemes. Probation with community service seems fair for financial fraud versus Marcus's identity theft, elder abuse, and conspiracy charges. Jennifer copied the files. I'll contact the prosecutor. Ashley's information just made their case airtight. That evening, I sat in my hotel room listening to more recordings. In one, Marcus laughed about my trust. Pearl's so desperate for family approval she'll believe anything. I could rob her blind and she'd apologize for not having more to steal. In another, he and Ashley discussed my reaction to losing the apartment. She'll cry for a week, then get over it, Marcus predicted. Pearl always caves, too worried about keeping the family peace to really fight. But the recording that broke my heart was Marcus alone, probably drunk, rambling to himself. Should have been me getting the praise, me with the good job, me with the nice place. But no perfect pearl always wins, not this time. This time, I take what's mine. What's mine? As if my achievements, my home, my life were his birthright stolen by my existence. I turned off the tablet, staring at the city lights through my window. Ashley's betrayal of Marcus was pure self-preservation, but it served justice. Her recordings would ensure he couldn't manipulate his way to a lighter sentence. My phone buzzed with a message from the prosecutor. Reviewed Chen's files. Exceptional evidence. With your support, we're offering her probation with restitution requirements. Her testimony will be crucial. I typed back, agreed. She's greedy and unethical, but not dangerous. Marcus is the real threat. Another message this from Ashley. Thank you. I know I don't deserve mercy. I'll make this right. Marcus will pay for everything. Tomorrow would bring more upheaval. The news was picking up the story, dubbing it the Great Apartment Heist. My parents were scheduled for their first therapy session. I had 3 apartment viewings and a business meeting with the developer. But tonight I sat with evidence of my brother's hatred voiced in his own words. He'd never loved me, only resented my existence. Every childhood memory was tainted by the knowledge that he'd been calculating how to take what I'd earned. Ashley's betrayal of Marcus was poetic justice. The woman he'd thought he controlled had been documenting his downfall just as he'd thought he could steal my life without consequence. She was right about one thing: he'd picked the wrong sister to scam. The weak, approval-seeking Pearl existed only in his imagination. The real Pearl had faced down family betrayal loan sharks and public humiliation without breaking. And now, with Ashley's evidence, she'd ensured justice was complete. Monday morning arrived with the kind of dramatic courthouse scene usually reserved for television dramas. The federal building downtown buzzed with reporters who'd caught wind of the apartment heist case. As I walked up the steps with Jennifer, cameras flashed and questions flew. Pearl, how does it feel to send your brother to prison? Will you ever forgive your parents? Is it true you stripped an entire apartment? Jennifer guided me through the chaos with practiced ease. My client has no comment at this time. She's here to see justice served. Inside, the courtroom was packed. My parents sat in the front row looking haggard despite their best efforts at normal appearance. Grace sat beside them, a steadying presence. Ashley was already at the witness table with her lawyer dressed conservatively in a gray suit that screamed, "Reformed criminal." Marcus entered in handcuffs, orange jumpsuit, replacing his usual designer clothes. He'd lost weight in the few days since arrest, his golden boy swagger replaced by something hollow. When our eyes met, I saw hatred mixed with disbelief, as if he still couldn't understand how his perfect scheme had failed. Judge Catherine Morgan presided, known for her no-nonsense approach to financial crimes. This arraignment has generated significant public interest, she noted, eyeing the packed gallery. I'll remind everyone that this is a court of law, not entertainment. The prosecutor, District Attorney James Crawford, stood. Your Honor, the United States brings 23 charges against Marcus Patterson, including wire fraud, identity theft, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit insurance fraud. Each charge was read with devastating clarity. The paper trail we'd compiled painted a picture of systematic deception spanning years. Marcus stood stoically until Crawford reached the insurance fraud charges. The defendant took out life insurance policies on his parents without their knowledge, discussing with associates how their deaths would solve his debt problems. That's a lie, Marcus burst out. I would never hurt them. Mr. Patterson. Judge Morgan's voice was sharp. You'll have your chance to respond through counsel. Marcus's public defender, an overwhelmed-looking man named David Park, tried damage control. Your Honor, my client maintains his innocence. These charges are based on circumstantial evidence and family disputes taken out of context. Circumstantial. Crawford pulled out exhibits. We have 43 fraudulent transactions documented, 18 credit cards opened with stolen identities, shell companies created specifically for money laundering. And now, with Ms. Chen's cooperation, we have recordings of the defendant planning each crime. Ashley took the stand, her testimony devastating in its precision. She detailed every scheme, every conversation, every plan Marcus had made. The recordings played for the court were damning. "Did you know Marcus was stealing from his parents?" Crawford asked. "Not initially," Ashley replied, managing to look appropriately remorseful. "He said they were gifting him money. I only learned the truth when I found forged documents." And the apartment scheme? "Marcus said his sister was abandoning the property. He showed me fake emails from her discussing leaving town. I believed him until I saw the renovation photos online and realized she'd been living there all along." Marcus's face contorted with rage as Ashley systematically destroyed his defense. When she produced the recording of him discussing the life insurance policies, my mother sobbed audibly. The defendant stated, quote, "If something happened to them, all problems solved. Insurance pays out within 30 days. Debts cleared, fresh start with Ashley." Unquote. Ashley read from the transcript. "You recorded me without consent," Marcus shouted. "That's illegal." "Actually," Judge Morgan interjected, "single-party consent is legal in this state. Continue, Ms. Chen." The evidence mounted relentlessly. Robert Chen testified about the financial devastation, showing charts of stolen funds and fraudulent loans. The FBI agent detailed the loan shark connections and money laundering operations. Even Dennis testified, reluctantly admitting Marcus had tried to recruit him for alibis. When the defense's turn came, they had little to work with. Park tried painting Marcus as a gambling addict who'd lost control, deserving treatment rather than prison. "My client's addiction drove these actions," Park argued. "He needs help, not incarceration." Crawford's rebuttal was swift. "Addiction doesn't excuse systematic fraud over 2 years. The defendant didn't steal once in desperation. He built an elaborate criminal enterprise, recruiting others, forging documents, and endangering his parents' lives." Then came my turn to give a victim impact statement. I'd prepared carefully, wanting to convey the full weight of betrayal without seeming vindictive. "Your Honor," I began, my voice steady, "my brother didn't just steal money or property. He stole trust. Every family dinner where he hugged me, he was plotting. Every time he offered to help with my computer, he was accessing my accounts. He turned our parents into unwitting accomplices and nearly destroyed their retirement." I looked directly at Marcus. But worse than the financial crimes was the casual cruelty. He called me weak, too nice to fight back. He planned to have me committed if I resisted, to unleash my stalker ex if I complained. He saw my hard work not as inspiration, but as something to steal. The apartment wasn't just property. It was 5 years of overtime shifts, careful savings, and dreams made tangible. When he couldn't steal my success, he tried to steal my home. When that failed, he blamed everyone but himself. I'm asking the court to consider the maximum sentence, not from vengeance, but for protection. Our parents need time to rebuild without fear. Future victims need warning. And Marcus needs to understand that actions have consequences, something our family failed to teach him. Marcus tried to interject several times, but Judge Morgan silenced him. When I finished, the courtroom was quiet except for my mother's muffled crying. The judge reviewed the evidence for what felt like hours, but was probably minutes. Finally, she spoke. "Mr. Patterson, the evidence against you is overwhelming. You systematically defrauded your parents, stole their identities, and put them in physical danger from criminal associates. You attempted to steal your sister's home through deception and manipulation. Most disturbing, you showed no remorse, only anger at being caught." She continued, "The court finds sufficient evidence to proceed to trial on all charges. Given the flight risk and danger to witnesses, bail is revoked. The defendant will remain in federal custody." "No." Marcus struggled against the bailiffs. "Mom, Dad, tell them I'm your son." My parents remained silent, my father holding my mother as she wept. Their golden child was going to prison, and they couldn't save him this time. As Marcus was led away, he turned to me one last time. "You destroyed our family." "No," I said quietly but clearly. "You did that yourself. I just refuse to let you destroy me too." Outside the courthouse, the media frenzy had intensified, but this time I was ready. "Ms. Patterson, how do you feel about today's proceedings?" I faced the cameras directly. "I feel validated. For years, financial abuse within families has been overlooked, excused as family business. But theft fraud is fraud whether the criminal shares your DNA or not. Will you reconcile with your brother? Marcus made his choices. I've made mine. I choose to protect my parents from further harm and rebuild my life without toxic family dynamics. What's next for you? Healing, building, creating a life where success isn't punished and trust isn't weaponized, and helping other victims of family financial abuse find their voices." As Jennifer and I walked away, my phone buzzed with messages of support. Maria's video coverage of the hearing was already trending. The developer I'd met with offered a partnership in a renovation consulting firm. 3 publishers wanted my story. But the message that mattered most came from my mother. "We see it now. All of it. The favoritism, the enabling, the damage we caused. We're so sorry, Pearl. You saved us in every way possible. We don't deserve your forgiveness, but we hope someday to earn it." I stood on the courthouse steps looking at the city sprawled before me. Marcus would face trial, likely receiving 10 to 15 years based on the charges. Ashley would serve probation while rebuilding her life away from crime. My parents would undergo therapy and face their role in creating a criminal son while neglecting a daughter who'd only wanted their love. And me, I had a business to build, a story to tell, and a life to live on my own terms. The girl who'd been overlooked, undervalued, and nearly robbed of everything had emerged stronger than anyone expected. Marcus was wrong about one thing: I hadn't destroyed our family. I'd revealed what it truly was beneath the surface. Now, with truth exposed and justice served, perhaps something healthier could grow from the ruins. But that was tomorrow's challenge. Today, I'd stood in federal court and spoken my truth. I'd watched my golden child brother face consequences for the first time in his life. I'd chosen justice over family pressure and self-respect over false peace. The weak sister Marcus had imagined never existed. The strong woman who'd emerged from betrayal's fire was just beginning to discover what she could build when no one was trying to steal it away. 6 months later, I stood in my new apartment watching the morning sun stream through windows I'd chosen myself. No shared walls with family memories, no inherited problems hidden beneath pretty surfaces, just clean space, waiting for my vision. "The Murphy bed system goes here," Tom said, consulting the plans we'd drawn together. "Built-in desk when it's folded up. Maximum efficiency for the spare room office combo." We'd become business partners after the courthouse drama, launching Restored Justice Renovations, specializing in helping people reclaim spaces after financial abuse or property fraud. Our first 3 clients came from my viral story, women whose ex-partners had destroyed their homes out of spite. Pearl Maria burst through the door with coffee and pastries. "Girl, you need to see these numbers. Your TED Talk about family financial abuse hit 5 million views. The publisher wants to expand your book deal to include a workbook for victims." My life had transformed in ways I couldn't have imagined while packing boxes in my stolen apartment. The consulting firm thrived, combining my renovation knowledge with an understanding of trauma-informed design. We helped people rebuild not just spaces, but lives. "How are things with your parents?" Maria asked gently. "Better." I admitted, surprising myself with the honesty. "They've been in therapy twice a week. Dad sold the house to pay off Marcus's fraud debts, and they're in a nice 2-bedroom senior community now. Humbling, but necessary." My phone rang. Mom's daily check-in, a new pattern in our evolving relationship. "Hi, Pearl. Just wanted you to know we finished session 43 today. Dr. Martinez says we're making real progress understanding the favoritism patterns." Her voice was different now, stripped of the defensive edge that used to color every conversation. "That's wonderful, Mom. How's Dad handling the discussion about childhood dynamics?" "He cried," she admitted, realizing how his father's favoritism toward his brother shaped how he parented. Generational patterns are hard to break, but we're trying. We talked for a few minutes about neutral topics, their new gardening club, a book she was reading about, enabling versus supporting. The conversation felt foreign, still lacking the old assumption that I'd drop everything for family drama. After hanging up, I returned to directing the renovation. This apartment was smaller than my previous one, but entirely mine. Every choice reflected my taste, my needs, my dreams. No accommodating Marcus's gaming setup or parents' traditional expectations. Jennifer arrived for our lunch meeting carrying news. Marcus's trial date is set. 3 months from now. The prosecutor says with Ashley's testimony and your evidence conviction is certain. He's looking at 12 years minimum. How's he doing? His lawyer says he's attending mandatory therapy, working in the prison library. Still maintains everyone betrayed him, but the counselor sees potential for breakthrough eventually. I felt a complicated mix of emotions. The brother I'd loved existed somewhere beneath the criminal he'd become. Maybe prison would strip away the entitlement and reveal the person he could have been. Ashley's doing well in her probation, Jennifer continued. Completed 200 hours of community service teaching financial literacy to abuse victims. Ironically, she's good at it. Criminals often make the best teachers about avoiding crime, I observed. Tom joined us for lunch, spreading blueprints for our latest project. A woman whose ex-husband had sold her home while she was deployed overseas needed help reclaiming and restoring it. Complex case, but we specialized in complex. The forensic accounting team found hidden assets, Tom explained. She'll have the budget to not just restore, but improve. I'm thinking smart home systems with security integration. This was our niche, combining renovation expertise with understanding of violation and recovery. Every client came with a story of betrayal, but also resilience. We built spaces that felt safe again, beautiful again, theirs again. That evening, I attended my parents' therapy session at their invitation. Dr. Martinez facilitated with skill, guiding us through the minefield of our history. "Pearl, your parents have been working on a proper apology," she said, one that acknowledges specific harms without excuses or expectations. My father cleared his throat, looking older, but somehow clearer than before. "Pearl, I failed you as a father. I saw you succeed and assumed you didn't need support while pouring attention on Marcus because he struggled. I taught him that failure earned rewards and taught you that success earned neglect. I'm profoundly sorry." My mother's apology was harder to hear through her tears. "I chose favorites and called it love. I dismissed your achievements while celebrating Marcus's participation. When you tried to tell me about the apartment renovations, I changed the subject to his engagement. When you were valedictorian, I worried Marcus would feel bad. I damaged both my children, and I'm so deeply sorry." They didn't ask for forgiveness, which paradoxically made it possible to consider. Dr. Martinez guided us through discussing boundaries and expectations for rebuilding. "I'm willing to try," I told them, "but slowly. And Marcus remains a non-topic until he genuinely acknowledges what he did." "We understand," my mother said. "We're just grateful you're willing to try at all." Leaving therapy, I felt lighter, not healed, but healing. The parents who'd overlooked me were becoming people who saw me. It would take time, but time was something we now had. My phone buzzed with a notification. Another interview request, this time from a major network wanting a follow-up story. I declined. The viral moment had served its purpose, bringing attention to family financial abuse, but I had a life to build beyond the spotlight. Back in my apartment, I stood on my balcony with a glass of wine looking over the city. My plants thrived in their new home, the Japanese maple particularly vibrant. Inside boxes of awards accumulated: Victim Advocate of the Year Small Business Innovation Award, Women in Construction Leadership Recognition. But the achievement that mattered most was invisible, the ability to trust myself. Marcus's betrayal had shattered faith in family, but revealed an unshakable core within me. I'd faced down criminals, exposed fraud, rebuilt from scratch, and emerged not bitter, but wise. My phone lit up with a group text from clients turned friends, women who'd found each other through shared experiences of property fraud and financial abuse. We called ourselves the Phoenix Club, rising from the ashes of what others had burned. Monthly meeting tomorrow, Pearl's hosting. I smiled, confirming. My tiny apartment would be crowded with successful women sharing stories, strategies, and strength. We'd toast our recoveries and plan our futures, proof that betrayal didn't have to be the end of the story. Tom texted about a new client, an elderly man whose grandson had sold his house through forgery. Another chance to restore justice, rebuild sanctuary, reclaim life. Our work never felt like just construction. It was redemption, one room at a time. As night fell, I walked through my apartment, touching surfaces I'd chosen, sitting in furniture I'd selected, existing in space that was purely mine. No inherited trauma, no family expectations, no golden child shadow. The girl who'd stood frozen at her brother's engagement party, watching her home get stolen, felt like a lifetime ago. That Pearl had believed she needed family approval to matter. This Pearl knew her worth existed independently, built on her own foundation. Marcus would serve his time, maybe learning what our parents hadn't taught him about consequences. Ashley would complete probation, perhaps becoming the ethical person her potential suggested. My parents would continue therapy, possibly becoming the supporters they'd never been. And I would continue building spaces for clients, relationships with chosen family, a business that mattered, a life that fit. The apartment was just the beginning. Marcus had tried to steal my home, but I discovered home was something I carried within myself. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, more clients, continued healing. But tonight, in my small, perfect apartment, surrounded by thriving plants and hard-won peace, I was exactly where I belonged. Not as anyone's overlooked sister or dutiful daughter, but as Pearl's survivor builder woman who refused to let anyone steal her light. The view from here was spectacular. 2 years had passed since that devastating engagement party, and I stood before an audience of 300 people, my hands steady on the podium despite the magnitude of the moment. The conference banner behind me read, "Breaking the Silence Family Financial Abuse Symposium," and I was the keynote speaker. Family betrayal cuts deepest. I began, my voice carrying across the packed auditorium, because it comes from those we're programmed to trust. When I discovered my brother had orchestrated an elaborate scheme to steal my home, I faced a choice: accept victimhood or reclaim my power. Today I want to talk about choosing power. The audience was riveted as I shared the story that had begun with public humiliation and ended with public triumph. Slides showed the transformation of my apartment, the evidence that had exposed Marcus, the business that had grown from personal pain. Restored Justice Renovations has now helped over 200 families reclaim spaces stolen or destroyed by financial abuse, I announced to applause. We've partnered with legal aid organizations, forensic accountants, and therapists to provide comprehensive recovery support. In the front row, my parents sat with tears in their eyes. 2 years of intensive therapy had transformed them from enablers to advocates. My father now volunteered with seniors facing financial exploitation, while my mother ran support groups for parents of adult children with criminal behaviors. The hardest part of recovery, I continued, isn't the financial loss or even the betrayal. It's letting go of the family you thought you had and accepting the family you actually have. Sometimes that acceptance means distance. Sometimes it means rebuilding with new boundaries. There's no one right answer. As I spoke, my phone vibrated with a notification I'd been expecting. Jennifer's message was brief. Marcus denied parole, 3 more years minimum. He still refuses full accountability. I felt the familiar mix of sadness and relief. My brother remained trapped in his narrative of victimhood, blaming everyone for his choices. The prison counselor reported he attended mandatory programs but hadn't internalized their lessons. He still insisted I'd overreacted, that families should have protected him from consequences. Accountability isn't punishment, I told the audience. It's the foundation of change. When we enable destructive behavior, we rob people of their chance to grow. My parents thought they were showing love by shielding my brother from consequences. Instead, they created a man who felt entitled to steal from those who loved him most. After my presentation, people lined up to share their stories. A woman whose sister had emptied their mother's accounts. A man whose son had forged his signature on property deeds. Each story echoed familiar themes: trust-exploited love, weaponized families torn between justice and loyalty. Tom approached with champagne as the crowd thinned. "You killed it, partner. 3 potential clients from your talk, and that documentary filmmaker wants to feature our work." We'd grown from a 2-person operation to a team of 15, including contractors, designers, victim advocates, and security specialists. Our waiting list stretched 6 months, but we never rushed the careful work of rebuilding after betrayal. That evening, my parents hosted a dinner at their senior community clubhouse. It was my mother's 68th birthday, and she'd requested something simple with just close family and friends. The contrast to their old, elaborate parties was striking, but healthier. "Thank you for coming, Pearl," my mother said, embracing me with the careful respect our new relationship required. "I know family gatherings are still complicated for you." "I wanted to be here," I assured her, meaning it. "You've worked hard to change. That matters." Grace raised a toast to Patricia, who faced hard truths with courage and emerged stronger, and to second chances. We shared a meal without the old dynamics that had poisoned every gathering. No golden child to fawn over, no achievements dismissed, no comparisons made. Just people who'd survived crisis together and chosen to rebuild rather than abandon. "I have something for you," my father said quietly, pulling out an envelope. "It's not about money or making up for anything. Just read it when you're ready." At home later, I opened his letter. His handwriting, once commanding on business documents, now showed age and humility. "Dear Pearl, I write this on the 2nd anniversary of losing the son I thought I had and finding the daughter I'd overlooked. Every day I see how my failures shaped our family's tragedy. I gave Marcus everything except what he needed most: boundaries and consequences. I gave you nothing except what you created yourself: strength and resilience. I can't change the past, but I watch you now with awe. You built beauty from betrayal, helped hundreds reclaim their lives, and somehow found grace to let your mother and me try again. You became the person Marcus pretended to be: successful through effort, generous through choice, strong through trial. I'm proud to be your father, though I understand if you can't be proud to be my daughter. Thank you for showing me that love means more than enablement, and that family requires more than blood. With deepest respect and love, Dad. I sat with the letter for a long time, feeling the weight of healing it represented. Not erasure of harm, but acknowledgement and growth. The father who'd once dismissed my achievements now saw them clearly. It didn't undo the past, but it made the future possible. My phone rang, an unknown number with a federal prefix. I answered cautiously. "Pearl, this is Dr. Williams from the Federal Correctional Institution. I'm Marcus's therapist. He's finally had a breakthrough I thought you should know about. He wants to write you a letter, a real apology taking full responsibility. Would you be willing to receive it?" I hesitated. 2 years of righteous anger warred with residual love for my little brother. "Send it to my lawyer," I decided. "She'll review it and determine if it's genuine. I won't accept another manipulation disguised as amends." "Understood. Pearl, your impact statement is required reading in our Financial Crimes Rehabilitation Program. It's helped dozens of inmates understand their victims' perspectives. Thank you for your courage in sharing it." After hanging up, I stood on my balcony, the city lights stretching endlessly. My Japanese maple had grown magnificent in its new pot, thriving in careful tending. Like everything in my life now, it flourished because I'd learned the difference between enabling and nurturing. My phone buzzed with messages from the Phoenix Club planning our annual gala. We'd raise funds for legal aid, celebrate recoveries, honor survival. Women who'd been broken by betrayal now stood as beacons for others in the darkness. Ashley would be there, having completed probation and launched a legitimate financial consulting firm specializing in fraud prevention. She'd sent a donation with a note, "For women smarter than I was." Even she had grown from consequences into something better. Marcus's potential letter represented the last unopened chapter. Whether he'd truly accepted responsibility or crafted another con remained to be seen. But either way, my life had moved beyond his shadow. I'd built a business that mattered, relationships rooted in respect, and a home no one could steal. The scared girl at the engagement party had transformed into a woman who spoke to hundreds about reclaiming power. My parents had evolved from enablers to advocates. Even Ashley had found redemption through accountability. Only Marcus remained trapped, but that was his choice. Prison offered programs, therapy, chances to change. Whether he'd take them or waste them spinning victim narratives was beyond my control. I'd learned the crucial difference between helping and enabling, between compassion and martyrdom. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, more clients seeking restoration after betrayal, but also joy-building beautiful spaces for people reclaiming their lives, partnering with Tom on innovative designs, mentoring women afraid to fight back against family exploitation. The apartment theft that had seemed like destruction had become transformation. Marcus had meant to steal my home, but instead freed me from seeking approval that would never come. He'd revealed our parents' toxic favoritism, forcing them to confront and change. He'd even given me a story that resonated with millions, building community among strangers facing similar betrayal. In trying to destroy me, he'd created someone unbreakable. By stealing my apartment, he'd given me the world. I raised my wine glass to the city lights, toasting survival and success, justice and joy. Somewhere in federal prison, my brother might be finally facing himself. Somewhere in their senior community, my parents were building healthier patterns. And here, in my small, perfect apartment, surrounded by thriving plants and hard-won peace, I was exactly who I was meant to be. The girl who'd been invisible in her own family had become someone impossible to overlook. The weak sister existed only in Marcus's imagination. The real Pearl had emerged from betrayal's fire, not as victim, but as victor, not seeking revenge, but building redemption. One renovated life at a time. The view from here wasn't just spectacular. It was mine, earned through courage and kept through wisdom. And that made all the difference. Looking back at that engagement party 2 years ago, I almost wanted to thank Marcus. Almost. He'd meant to steal my future, but instead had freed me to build a better one. He'd remain in prison 3 more years minimum, maybe learning what our family's enabling had never taught him. But I'd be out here speaking truth, building beauty, helping others reclaim what was stolen. Some stories end with reconciliation, others with righteous separation. Mine ended with something better, transformation. The apartment was gone, replaced by something no one could steal. The family was forever changed, some for better, one still choosing worse. And I stood in the middle of my beautiful life, grateful for the strength found in betrayal's aftermath. To anyone facing family financial abuse, wondering if fighting back is worth the cost, I offer this: yes. The price of justice is high, but the cost of silence is higher. Your family may never understand, but you'll understand yourself. They may call you vindictive, but you'll know you're courageous. You may lose what they stole, but you'll gain something priceless, the knowledge that you refuse to be anyone's victim, including theirs. That's not an ending. That's a beginning. And from where I stand now, the view is infinite. What would you do if someone you trusted most betrayed you in the worst possible way? Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and personal justice? I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please consider giving it a like and subscribing for more content about overcoming betrayal and building strength from adversity. Share this with anyone who needs to hear that they're not alone in facing family financial abuse. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember, your worth isn't determined by family approval, but by your own courage to stand up for yourself. Stay strong, friends.